Hey guys,
Hello, hello, hello.
I'm Kindra Monet,
And I'm Marcia Bailey.
and welcome to the couch.
Welcome to the couch. We have a special episode that we uploaded to the couch, and it's on fathers.
Yeah, so my father and my brothers and I, we did a dad's RoundTable where we talked about fatherhood and the importance of fatherhood and even lessons that we've learned
It was
and
really
worked
good,
through with
yeah.
my dad. So it was really awesome. I think it's really something for everybody, mothers,
Yeah.
daughters, sisters, brothers,
Everybody.
the fatherless, with fathers. I think we should all tune in.
I think so. So check it out. Let us know your thoughts and give us some feedback.
And
okay?
don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you ever have any questions, you can always email us at askusonthecouch@gmail.com.
Cool.
See you next time.
All right.
I want to invite up here my son and daughter who are with us today, Pastor Chandler and Miss Kindra Bailey. Come on, gentlemen. Yes, they're going to bring you mics. All right. We're calling this the Dad's Roundtable, and we're going to talk today about the impact of fathers. I've given them talking points about what to say about how great I am. But let me just introduce a couple of scriptures to you as we start this today. Proverbs 17:6. It says, children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children are their fathers. Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children are their fathers. That verse from the New Living Translation says, grandchildren are the crowning glory of the aged. Parents are the pride of their children. So, glory of the children are their fathers, and then New Living makes it more general, but originally, in its original context, said the glory of children are their fathers, which meaning that children ought to be able to be proud of their fathers. And all of us, we haven't had that opportunity and that privilege to be proud of fathers. I grew up in a situation where I was very embarrassed by my father. My father, at a young age, for me, in my single-digit years, from what I remember, became a heroin addict. Now they just call it opioid addiction. But he was a heroin addict, and then he was in and out of jail, some kind of way related to that. When he got freed from that, then he became alcoholic. And I used to hear about all these great things of who he was, and my mother even talked about who he was when we met him. To this day, if you want to get Bishop Bailey started, I'm talking about the what I call OB, the original Bishop Bailey. If you want to get him started, he said, man, was nobody like your father. It was nobody like him. I heard all these great things of how he was, how creative he was, how smart he was, what a business mind he had, etc., until he got messed up by drugs and alcohol. And so as a result of that, for many years, I grew up embarrassed by my father, ashamed of my father, and then later I realized I was very angry with my father. So for those of us who've had fathers that we can, as the scripture says, be proud of, that's a blessing. Yeah. Amen. Come on, if you had a father you can be proud of, thank God for that. Amen. So let's just start off today and say, what are you proud of concerning your father?
Worship time. I'm just kidding. Well, I had to put my lap skirt on so that you could also be proud of me.
Praise the Lord. Amen. That's good.
I'm
proud she's covered up today. That's what I'm proud of.
it's a segue. I just looked at the email that you wrote to me a while ago. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
When we had the opportunity to go before the bishop, the College of Bishops, and speak about why he was, deserving of becoming
Let me just say, y'all were at the the consecration service, but prior to that service, there's a smaller, intimate service with just other bishops and pastors and my family. Okay?
Yeah, and they basically asked us to vouch for his character. And it could have been an opportunity to be like, nah, don't do it, you know? But I was really proud to be able to speak of you that way, because so often you don't get to, like, the opportunity to publicly express, like, love for a parent or your father in front of people while they're living. You know, that's stuff that you say in a eulogy. You don't get to say those things in front of them. So I'm definitely proud of the way that you have integrity, the way that you are like the same person in front of the scenes as you are behind the scenes. I think that I've learned about healthy, I would say ambitious calling. You know, when God gives you a calling and it's ambitious, but it's not egotistical. You know, I've never seen you wrap up your accomplishments as only something that you did. Everything was something that God's doing through you. And I've been really proud to witness that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like how you brought that service up before, because I was thinking about some things I said too, and I was like, Kindra, I was like, everything we talked about had nothing to do with preaching.
Right.
We talked about who he was as a father and what he's done in our lives. And when you brought up the question, the biggest thing I'm proud of you, Dad, and I take pride in, is your fight. And when I say fight, I mean your ability to just keep pushing on the Word of God. It's not really the accomplishments, it's the pain of the promise that I've seen you go towards the promises of God. So, like, just the ability to keep going, because I'm in my stage in my manhood process as your son is I'm in the process of a lot of stuff, in the process of taking care of this, or my children are in this age bracket where I don't know exactly who they'll be and become, but that ability to just do what you need to do when you don't feel like doing it, and still see you do that now. Like, a lot of people don't know that side. Like, when you prepare these sermons, like I just stopped by the house yesterday. You're preparing for next week, but I'm like, man, you could be relaxing. You've been traveling. And so just a constant reminder to me that this calling comes with a fight. Life comes with a fight. And having a dad that's a fighter reminds me that you should never take a break from fighting for the things that God has for you, as well as your family.
You're fighting through faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, with that, fathers, I think one of the things we have to realize is that you're always teaching even when you're quiet. You're not just teaching by what you say, you're teaching by what you do. You're teaching by what they see you doing. And I think we find it so interesting, Pastor Marcia and I, we often talk about this, how, and we usually see it most obviously with women, how they will gravitate to men like their father many times, for better or for worse. And and sometimes you can see something you don't want and don't like, and yet you can gravitate towards that because that's still what's comfortable to you. So it's not unfamiliar to you. So, you know, I'm just, and I'm not talking about anybody, but for example, if you had a father who drank all the time but worked, but he was drunk, or worked, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, because sometimes people have functional alcoholics. In my family, there were functional alcoholics. I don't mean like winos on the street, but people who were drinking all the time, but they worked and they held down a job. And so you can say, well, but he's a good provider. People, they'll gravitate to that simply because they were able to. They saw that. So I think it's so important, fathers, for us to realize that we're always teaching. Not just by what we say, but just by the example that we are. Ephesians 6:4, it says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Can you put that up for me in the New Living Translation? Ephesians 6:4, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Perhaps they can't. Okay. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. That verse is also kind of recorded in Colossians 3:21. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Okay, so thank you for the praise and the worship. Have I ever done anything to anger you or provoke you to wrath? or that may have caused you to get,
Chandler go on this one.
or caused you to get
'Cause,
discouraged?
Parents get better as they get older, as they go on. So he probably provoked you to rap a lot more than he did to me. He probably learned by the time after he messed with you, like, I shouldn't do that anymore.
I guess, of course, thank God for Jesus and the blood of Jesus, and healing and all that. But no, when I looked at this question, I was like, really? Why are we doing this right here? But perception is everything, Dad. And for the fact that that you put this question down means that you really want to help fathers out. So I think that's awesome. So let's go down memory lane. I guess one of the biggest things that I feel like that will be effective in this moment is when I was an athlete growing up. We were in the throes of ministry, and we had this sacrifice. Now, when you're a child, you don't understand the full weight of sacrificing for ministry. You're just growing up. And I remember playing football for Irmo and soccer, and I was doing travel soccer, but we had Sunday services, and it was pretty tough. I came to a place where I started getting really, really good at the sport, and the coaches were looking at me, and I had the opportunity to potentially travel abroad and play. Do you remember
Abroad?
that? Travel far away, yeah. They were one of the, send me to camps. You remember that?
Abroad, like overseas?
Yeah, like overseas. You remember that? You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember
Yes.
this.
It wasn't even a question if it was going to happen.
Yeah, it was
Okay, all right, keep going.
It was soccer, yeah. It was like a European soccer camp. See, I remember because it's there.
Okay. Okay.
And financially, it just wasn't a good decision to make right now. And we were building a ministry. And I realized, I was like, oh, man. And then growing up, seeing my siblings, have opportunities with different stuff athletically.
And then Kindra goes to China.
We were at a different financial level.
Then she went to Hawaii.
Yep, I played volleyball in
Volleyball, Hawaii, and
Yeah, so
China.
I guess, but...
So you sacrificed for your sister.
Yeah, I did.
You're a good brother.
Good brother. That's who I think I am, who I think I am, who I think I am. All right. So yeah, I guess that sort of, and then I started having an attitude. I had a chip on my shoulder. And I remember, getting arguments with players in the locker room and having those issues. And I just sort of had a little anger issues in my adolescent
And
season.
you were angry about me not fully supporting your athletic endeavors?
I didn't even know what I wanted at the time because I never saw it before. But when I saw my siblings, I saw it. So I would say going back, it was probably frustrated with your perception of what was going on in me as I was excelling. I had potential, but you were in the throes of ministry. So you were in the great balance of life, and I'm the firstborn, and you see these attributes, but at the same time, you have a purpose, and you have the church.
And also, mom and dad, especially dad, didn't know about all the athletic opportunities that were available then. Like, he didn't understand how big of a deal it was. Like, my coach had to tell him, Kendra's really good. She needs to play club. She can get a scholarship. He said, scholarship? Oh.
Yeah.
Let's go. But then he was all aboard.
Which is true. See, again, about talking about perception. Yeah. His perception, that was about ministry. That was his perception. I can tell you I was not about ministry. That was about I did not value athletics like that. I did not see the potential for athletics. He was not a very good academic student at the time. I could care less about athletics. I'm trying to push him academically, and he's excelling athletically. And I'm like, boy, I don't care nothing about no ball, but I care about is these grades. Now, as I got older, I realized I learned how to balance that. But it's so interesting we're just talking about this because his perception, that was because of ministry.
Yeah. And I think that's so good. The word perception really strikes me
Yeah.
because all I saw was time.
Right.
You were talking about
You saw how much time I
values.
was given to ministry.
Yeah, and I perceived it that was more important than this at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Have I discouraged you, provoked you?
The only thing I can think of, this is so petty.
This is so petty.
So only thing I can think of was when I wanted ice skates. And I said, can I get ice skates? And you said, are your feet done growing? And that was the end of the conversation. I never got ice skates. That's all I can think of.
You still want some ice skates?
No.
Cast not away your confidence. You have need of patience. I'll get you 2 pair.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Ice skates.
No,
At the time, where were we going ice skate?
There was What was that place called?
We have it here. We do it now
I had an ice skating birthday party when I was like 8 or 9.
Okay, where was that at?
See?
The Plex. Okay.
But yeah. But I can't really think of anything that really provoked me to wrath. I think the biggest thing that me and you probably went back and forth about was as I got into later teenage years, was like my clothing.
Really?
And into I think we finally leveled out about a year ago, 2 years ago.
No, we haven't. We still got issues.
I think I'm doing my best.
Maybe you've leveled out. Well, I'm still angry.
Oh, well, I was say maybe I provoked him to wrath. I provoked him to wrath.
You know, I thought Chandler was going to talk about some other things. I will tell you this. The early days of our ministry, as a young man, I was very, very, very concerned about how their behavior affected our ministry or perception of us as pastors. I was very concerned about that. And I probably initially was more concerned about how whatever they were doing or involved with affected us more than in those early days, how it affected them. Can you all understand that? And I would really encourage you and caution you, fathers, parents, period. Whatever your children are going through, it's not about you, it's about them. The devil's not trying to destroy you, the devil's trying to destroy them. And all that changed for me in a after service dinner with Bishop Jakes.
When was that?
Bishop Jakes first came and preached for us here at Direction for Life, 7 years ago? Yeah. Something like that? 2014 maybe? Somebody may remember exactly. 2013 perhaps, somewhere like that. You said you were in college? Some 12, I can't remember, when Bishop Jakes first. And to my surprise, I'm just going to tell you all this, to my surprise, Bishop Jakes stayed afterwards just to eat with us. I'm going to tell you all right now, of all the speakers that we have seen at various levels, at his level, he is the only one who ever stayed around. The others would get their mic on and go out and get on their plane and be gone. Bishop Jakes stayed and sat down and just talked with us. And I started talking about some things. I don't know, Chandler was probably in college at the time. I don't know. Anyway, I started talking about some things. And Bishop Jakes said to me, he said, our children are not actors in our Broadway production. Or our children are not actors in our movie so they can play good supporting roles so we can get the Academy Award. That changed my whole perspective. He said, whatever they're going through, it's not about you, it's about them. And you need to be there for them. And he said, never be so concerned about ministry that you are not dealing with whatever's going on with them. It changed my life. And at the same time, I started crying because I'm like, I've never heard this. Nobody ever taught me that. And then I said, where were you 10 years earlier? 15 years when I was making some bad decisions or not being there as I should have been in issues and dealing with it as I should about what was going on, in this case, with Chandler versus how that's affecting me or how that's making my ministry look. And there was a time I said something along those lines to Chandler. It's probably the most regrettable thing that I ever said. Something along those lines about how his behavior, whatever, was affecting me and my ministry. And so I think it's so important for all of us to realize, talking about not bringing them up, nurturing the admonition of the Lord, and not provoking your children to wrath. If you make whatever they're going through about you rather than about them, you're going to provoke them to wrath.
That's really good.
You're going to discourage them, and they're going to see everything else as more important than they are. And so I think this is so important because, watch this, if you are grown, understand this, parents, if you are grown, you have lived your childhood already. You are grown. Okay? This ain't about, when your children are going through things as young people and as teenagers, the devil's attacking them. That ain't about you. That's about their life. And you got to be there to rescue them and to be there for them and support them, and don't make this about you.
That's so good. And but you said that Bishop Jakes took the time.
Yes.
And what stands out to me is that it's so much weight in us as dads when we just simply spend time. There's stuff in us that we don't know that's in us, then when you just hang around, it'll come out. And so just thinking about what you said, like if he didn't take the time after, that information wouldn't have came out.
Right.
And I thought
and it was so profound for me.
Yeah, and I was thinking about, like, I guess that was the perception at the time growing up, and you did not probably know the value of what would happen if I just spend time in that area or spend time in that area. So yeah.
How have I nurtured and encouraged you in the things of the Lord? Bring them up, nurture and the admonition of the Lord. How have I nurtured you or encouraged you in the things of the Lord?
Well, I know that for me, as I was looking for this email, a couple of other emails popped up, like titled like "Letter to My Daughter," of my dad emailing me over the years when he felt like he wasn't really getting to me like vocally. He would take the time to send an email to me, and I still have some of those. And the last one was actually about wardrobe.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Well, it was just about the way I was tripping that day. I tripped a little bit that day for my birthday. I wore an outfit to dinner with my dad that I wasn't conscious of it. My perception wasn't how it looked, but he saw me walking, and I saw him mouth, "She done lost her mind," as I was walking towards him. And then my homegirls were like, "Ooh, your dad does not like your outfit." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So, but he wrote me a letter, and he explained not just like why it wasn't just about the clothes, but about the perception, about how I was presenting myself, and really taking the time to always give me things from a man's perspective. And I think that's always the balance that you've given me, is that, especially for women, young teen girls, you can be doing something and it seems so simple to you, and you're like, this is not how it's portrayed to a man. And so you always gave me that perspective, and I'm so glad that I have that perspective, and just also having a relationship already with a strong man. I see so many women that just like melt around that and are just so moldable by being around a strong man. And so I'm glad that I already have that relationship, so that I don't feel so easily swayed by that.
So good. I can't help but think at the same time, like the way she expressed herself with her clothing, now I see what you do professionally. And I think about fathering and like what I did when I was upset and now what I do now, communicate. When I was frustrated, I would rebel with my communication. I talked back. I was flipped with my mouth. And now that I'm speaking. So the thing you nurtured was that. But what I'm saying is how fathering has played such an important role in our image, to the point that when we're hurt as children, we express it incorrectly.
Keep going, that's good.
You see, because you said the way she came in, she already had that gifting of putting stuff together. It's just the pain of whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I do styling and fashion marketing.
Yeah, you do style and fashion marketing, but I'm realizing how fathering, like we're already expressing ourselves as children, and when you're upset, you use that gift to get attention, to be upset, to express yourself. I was already preaching, but I wasn't preaching.
Trying to preach to me.
I was, so anyway, I just thought I'd throw that nugget out there. Okay. You nurtured and encouraged me in the things of the Lord. I believe one thing that stands out to me, I don't know if this goes with this, you said you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And so I made myself up like that was my first fruit seed. So when I started challenging things I was going through, I would say, let me start put my best foot forward first. And that principle sort of helped me out.
Okay. Oh, I have another one. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I refer to it often, especially if I have a friend that's on the phone with me and she's like, "Girl, I'm about to do this." And I'm like, "Wait." Because I remember a long time ago, my dad told me, don't ever let your reaction or don't ever let your behavior make someone forget their wrong behavior. Like your reaction to something can be so poor that nobody remembers why you're mad. Only thing they remember is that you flipped tables and you acted a fool, and now no resolution has been made, no progress has been made. So whenever
them think about their behavior, not your behavior.
Yes, that's what it was. And so now whenever I have a situation where it's like my gut instinct, it wants to react poorly or just flip a table, I like take a beat and I'm like, how can I communicate this in a way that they understand that their behavior is wrong and that they're not just stuck about my reaction?
Good. Proverbs 1:8. It says, there's several scriptures that talk about the role of fathers in teaching our children, and also the role of children to receive the instruction. Proverbs 1:8, it says, my son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Proverbs 13:1, a wise son heareth his father's instruction, but a scorner heareth not rebuke. Proverbs 15:5, a fool despises his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. Okay, let me stop right there. There's a question I hadn't thought about. Is there anything that I taught you that you didn't adhere to or listen to or take seriously at the time, that you didn't heed the instruction, and what's been the result of that?
Which one? I would say you really started us really well financially. And I remember being in college, I just told the youth this the other week, you set us up a certain way by putting us on authorized users on your credit card, et cetera, things like that. And so we had, once you turn 18, you had excellent credit.
In my memory.
And so I remember being at Target with Adria. We were in our early 20s. And they're like, would you like to have such and such and such and such? And I heard you in my head, do not say yes. And I was like, well, I'm in Greenville, so yeah, I'll take it. And somehow I lied to myself saying, this is a gift card, this is a gift card. No, it was not a gift card. I had to fill out the application, and so it had a very high limit. And I was like, well, we're just going to use this at Target. And the whole time, I didn't tell you about anything. Didn't tell you at all, because I already knew wisdom was going to flow out of you. And I was like, I want to enjoy this foolish behavior right here. So we're not talking to Dad right now, because he doesn't play in this area. So, and I remember getting different stuff for my Nissan, exhaust system, playing college football. All the guys were like, yo, Chan, what's up? I'm like, doom, 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 tinted windows and everything. Target credit card every time. And I said to myself, like, wow, like.
That was in addition to the authorized credit card you had.
Yeah.
That was in addition to that.
It was.
Because he would be in college, and I look on my card, and I'm seeing he was out to eat, and like $400 for evening. I'm like, and he would like pay for everybody else with my card.
I had the right spirit with the wrong heart. Foolish generosity.
Foolish generosity. Okay.
But no, seriously though, so you set us up a way, and then so I didn't heed the instructions of biblical financial literacy that was founded on God's word of integrity and stewarding. And that yielded towards the wrong path, and then I had to go through recovery from there.
And what's been the result of that?
Of course, we know losing points on your credit score, having to start from places that you actually pulled us out of, and now I'm applying certain things that you've done for yourself for us, but now I have to do them. So that's a result of that.
Yes, to the credit thing. Yes, that's all. New York was
of our children, the first and the last.
We're the spenders. These
are the most alike. Okay, they have so many characteristics that are alike, and one of them is been in this area of finances and managing and again, I set all my children up. I did when they were by the time I did things like put them on my credit card. I took them to open up accounts, which were joint with mine. I'm talking about bank accounts. Then I made them authorized users on my credit cards. Authorized users. which means that some of them, they didn't even get the card until they were at college. And then it was always supposed to be said, use this for emergencies. It's still being said, use this for emergencies. And it's still being said, don't put anything on here that it's a surprise to me. And so I did those things to set them up. And then, so because they were set up, now they could go get their own stuff, but now they got to manage that themselves. Yeah. And what I want to say to fathers and parents, you can set your children up, you can teach them the example, but then at the end of the day, they still got to make their own decisions. Now, what I don't do, they can both tell you, I don't just bail you out, especially if I set you up to never be in this. There's some lessons you're going to have to learn, because if I bail you out, you're always going to be looking for a bailout. Right. But if you dig yourself out this hole, you'll make up your mind like mine. I ain't never going to be in this situation again. Right. No way ever.
One thing that you taught me that I strayed away from that I would never do again is dating non-Christian men. Really? Yeah. Like, there's be times
it ain't on. But they're good guys. They got a degree and they got a nice job, and he treats you like a gentleman.
It's not gonna work. That would be my response. And he'd be like, "Oh, so what's his spiritual walk like?" Well, he believes in God, and I will tell you a million times, if you are a Christian woman and you want to live your life as a Christian woman, then you are not going to reach your full potential with a non-Christian man. You can try to do it. You can say, okay, well, then he's going to hold you back spiritually. You're going to end up missing church because he's not going. You're going to end up finding yourself trying to be a leader of a man, and you're going to get tired of it in 5-10 years, and women get divorced after 15 years all the time. So I didn't want to. Now I know I'm not going to put myself in that situation, but there were times where I tried to date non-Christian men, but I have gotten better, because now I actually say it's not a thing. Now if I'm introduced to a man and he seems great and I find out his walk with God and all that, or if I find out that he's trying to put on a little bit because he knows it's important to me, and that doesn't last long, and I'm just like, it's not going to work, and I'll be like, your relationship with God, we're unequally yoked. One dude, I told him that we were unequally yoked. He was like, you talking to me about eggs right now? And I was like, you know what? That proves that we are so unequally yoked, you don't even know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you talking to me about eggs?
Now that is hilarious.
So I won't do it anymore.
Wow. Yeah, I should hear stuff like, well, Dad, everybody's not, people got their own walk with God.
Which is true. I mean,
people got their kind of own relationship with God. Everybody's not, he wasn't raised in the church, but he believed in Jesus. I haven't heard it all. I've heard it all from her, and I heard it all from y'all.
I think if he's not raised in the church, that's not his fault.
Right.
But if he is open, and I would say on his own journey, not just open to experiencing your journey, but is actually seeking God for themselves, and on their journey, you can work with that and see where they go on their own with that. But trying to pull them along is just frustrating.
No, I know of a recent situation, and I asked them about this person that they're with and his walk with God as Christian. They said, well, he held my hand and he cried in church. Okay. So you hold your hand and cry in church. Now you're a spiritual giant. That'll do it. Let's head to the altar now. If you hold a hand and cry in church. So, all right. And some of this we already talked about. What are the most impactful instructions or lesson that you received from me? Maybe we've already talked about that. What are some of the most, Deuteronomy 6 and 7, it tells fathers teaching your children, but New Living Translation said, and I'll give you all this immediately. Deuteronomy 6:7, New Living Translation says, repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you are at home, when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, and when you're getting up. That sounds to me like it's almost saying fathers got a right to aggravate their children. Talk about it when you're at home, when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, and when you're getting up. What are some things you think I just constantly was repeating to you?
So many stuff. I'm thinking about that scripture and thinking about the times. One time I remember telling you, I was like, I need you to keep it real with me. Like, I don't need to hear I don't need to hear any scripture right now. I was going through something. I was like, I don't need to hear the God. I want to hear your heart. And you said, right after I said that, you said, God says, or the Bible says. And I was like, man. But now that I understand what a father is, like, that repeat mode is so important, because what your child's going to become one day is a woman or a man, and that is the harvest. And you won't get thanked till later. Yeah. You won't. And so sometimes teaching can be painful for the child. I remember a lot of the teaching, like, you would constantly say stuff about being on time, constantly say stuff about, organizing. Oh my gosh, our room, me, Tyler, and Daniel, our room. We used to come inside our bedroom. We shared, all three of us had a room together, right, when we first got here. And it was shoes everywhere, stuff everywhere, all that. And then I know you said I didn't do a lot of yard work, but I did do more yard work than you think I did do yard work. You just forgot. We used to do that pine straw, and what made no sense, it kept coming down. And you would be upset after a whole day of hard work out there, and we had to make the pine straw in a nice circle around the tree. Had to be perfect, and then the wind would blow, and we would cry like, no! I'm like, and to be from Jersey, you really understood yard work. I don't know how you understood that, but so a lot of the teaching was just repeat. I think it was a lot of discipline, a lot of learning how to be consistent. And that was, I guess, was your question, what was aggravating?
No, that wasn't a question, but you can answer that. It sounds like you.
But I learned a lot of it, and I found myself doing the same thing to Righteous and Alina. I think, like I said, I believe your teaching, if not paid off just in this generation, but definitely the next. Alina is her grit and her consistency and her wanting to be organized and righteous and the desire, the way he talks with confidence. All that has to do with teaching. So, yeah.
I think that this goes back to being very young, but when you said speaking with confidence, that's something that was kind of a non-negotiable in the house. Yeah, we had to speak up. We weren't allowed to be those little kids that hey, this is so-and-so. No, speak up. You taught us to speak up, look up in the eye. And
lift your voice, tell them your name.
That stuff makes you a good communicator as an adult.
Yeah,
so you definitely instilled that in us. And I remember I used to have to go to nursing homes and sing "Thou Art Worthy." Do you remember that?
I remember that.
That was my
Would you
one
like
song.
To sing it?
No.
I do remember that.
Thou art worthy. Yeah, that's all. So yeah, I used to sing that at nursing homes. But just always, I would say the biggest lesson I've learned from you was like confidence and just how you carry yourself with people and just presenting yourself well, because that really goes a long way. Yeah.
Based upon your life experience and observation, what are the pros and cons? Well, maybe not cons, but what are the pros of being raised by a father versus without? Based upon what I'm saying, you have your experience, but now at this age you got friends, you got, so what are you seeing the impact of being raised by a father versus those who, for whatever reason, may not have been raised by fathers?
I think you can always tell someone that it's dangerous to live a life with no one that can tell you anything. There's no one that can speak into you. There's no one who can say something that has authority in your life and you actually can take heed to that. I think it's so important, even if it's not a natural father, for everyone to have a male figure that can speak into your life. So I think that having that accountability that even though, it is my life, but I know that I represent you. And there was this one time when this woman pushed me in Waffle House. And I was about to fight her in Waffle House. And then someone said, sorry.
No, you told me about this.
Yeah, and someone came up to me and just was walking by, and they were like, you look so pretty, you and your family look so pretty at your brother's wedding. I said, Bishop Herbert Bailey daughter cannot be fighting in Waffle House. And I left. If it was just Kindra Bailey, I might have fought her in that Waffle House. So it's good to have
That
people
happened here because there's no Waffle House in New York.
Yeah, that happened here.
So if that happened in New York, what might have gone down?
I might have fought
where,
her
where they
in
didn't
that
know you was
Waffle.
Bishop Herbert Bailey's
No,
daughter.
no. I'm a little bit, older now and just able to walk away from the situation off the strength of myself. But while you're in those formative years and your decisions are still kind of teeter-tottering a little bit, it helps to know that you represent more than yourself.
Impact of fathers versus, you got friends, associates, relatives.
I know for sure with what I've seen with the people around me, I've seen both sides of the equation, the pros and cons. And I've seen people without fathers have more of a value of someone who has a father. And I've been in both parties of the experience, and you can have a father and completely be oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah.
And so you're not taking advantage of it because your son, as a son, you could be in the wrong posture. Therefore, the fathering process could be hard, and you're not reaping the full benefits of having a healthy father because you're not in a good posture as a son. So, what I've seen is, I don't want to stereotype the ones with no father like their lives are horrible and things are bad.
Right.
But I believe there's an emotional energy that is inside a man, it's an inner frustration, and I've seen it with a lot of the guys I know around me, even in ministry. They can have everything right, but it's this thing that you won't even know it. You're yearning for it, and you have no idea what's going on. You're yearning for it. And I realize that it's this inner pain, this inner anger. It's a deep lack of understanding of who you are, your own identity, outside of the things you do with your hands. And to say that because ever since you come into some new relationships, I've seen you shift and change and evolve. And I believe a lot of that has to do with a father's presence. And time is the best friend of a father, and it's a gift that can be used for the son. And I really believe what happens, a father, you're supposed to push yourself into time. You're not supposed to have all the answers. And so what I realize is, even with righteous, there's stuff in me that I can just say at the right time when something happens that it has nothing to do with a book. And those are deposits that's in my children that later on in life, there's an inner security that's subconsciously in them that they have no idea that's there. So what happens when you lack a father, you are missing deposits that you don't know. All the deposits you had to make, you had to create. You had to make good grades to say, I'm proud of myself. You had to do all these different things in life. And so what happens is, beyond all the things you accomplish, you're still realizing there's a lack. And a father's presence, a present father, it gives you a place of inner security. And guys, we act tough all we want, but there's an emotional connection between a father and a son. Whether you want to admit it or whether you don't know it's there, there's an emotional now lack when you're not having a present father. And you have to walk with that all your life after that.
That's really good. And that even goes back to the song, you're a good father, and it's who you are. I always get so emotional in the beginning of that song because it's like, it's who you are, and then it's like, and I'm loved by you, and that's who I am. Like the fact that being loved is your identity, and that's what we get from our spiritual father, from God in heaven. But it's also, you can get that identity from your natural father, that it's like, my identity is being loved, that I am cared for, that it's good to know that you have a relationship with someone that I don't want to use my safety net, but thank God you're here, It's comforting to know that, at the end of the day, there is someone that has your back like that. But I also think what you said is good, is because, Dad, you have, a complicated relationship with your natural father, and then you had Uncle Scotty who poured into your life, and now as an adult, as a grown man, you still see the importance of mentorship and fatherhood in your life. And I think that that's so important to say that you continue to seek that out, even if you don't have a natural father that you can esteem like that. You're not too old. You can be 55. You need a mentor. You need to seek fatherhood in your life so you can have that rock.
That's so important. Yeah.
I think, go ahead.
It's so important that the seeking is so important. And bringing up the lyrics of the song, what you just said is, that's who you are. The son's perceiving the father for who he is in his life, not what he does.
Right.
And so I thank God for being an authorized user. I thank God for you setting up the credit. I thank God for you protecting our family and loving Mom. But who you are in my life now is more perceived than ever before. And I think the son and the daughter needs to know somewhere in a relationship that the base of this relationship, no matter what you do, no matter what decisions you make, I'm your father. I'm disappointed. I love you. I'm angry. I love you. I'm upset. I love you. You hurt me. I love you. I'm mad. You put me in a difficult situation. I got to pick you up from jail, but I love you. I'm tired. You keep waking me up. You got to get out the house, but I love you. And I think that's something a father can do that I believe no one in the house can do. And when it's expressed, like, and I remember a situation late at night, talking editing, and you had to pick me up. And I remember seeing how hurt you were. But I also, in that moment, I remember seeing how much you loved me. You were very frustrated. You didn't know how to express it, but you really, 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 really loved me. At that moment, you wasn't buying me shoes. You wasn't buying me a car. My grades definitely wasn't good, but you were there. Now, I know you didn't want to be there. That's probably not the best place you want to be present in your son's life. But why, out of all those moments, did I feel secure? It's something inside of all of us that you have no idea that you know that if someone never steps into that space, that place is vacant, and you'll have challenges in your life, potentially for the rest of your life, and you'll have to navigate.
And I think so much of that comes from, and I don't think it's merely gender. It's not merely gender of saying there's a man there, but it's a man who has walked out being there.
What do you mean?
Well, that comes from, I think, of seeing a father who takes care of things, who fixes things, who repairs things.
And who's intentional.
And who's intentional versus a male who's there.
Right.
You can be a male there and you still not have that. You could be a male there saying this. Ain't no sense in me calling him. Ain't nothing he gonna do. You understand what I'm saying? I think fathers, we got to live that out to provide that security that you're talking about. I'm not talking about financial security. That security of knowing that, hey, I got a father at the end of the day, some kind of way, he's going to help me through this. He's going to be there. He's going to guide me through this. And some of what you're talking about, they also come from that unconditional love. Some of us, we were raised with conditional love. If you don't do this, then I'm kicking you to the curb. It's condition, and I think it's so important for parents, as you're saying, even when you're disappointed, even when you're hurt, even when your kids break your heart, to give them unconditional love. There is nothing that either one of these or my other children can ever do, or that they can do, they can say, whatever, that'll cause me to no longer operate as their father. I will always be, I will be there for them. I will come through for them. I will love them through it. I'm going to be right there when I don't want to be. I'll catch them before they fall. I'll spend money on them. When I'm mad, I got to spend money on them. But that's who I am. And I think it's so important that every child, now a lot of this, this can, come from moms as well. But right now we're talking about fathers, since it's Father's Day, providing that unconditional love and that rock that I'm going to be there for you. Yeah. Winter, spring, summer, fall, all you got to do is call.
There's a place in that.
Yeah, yeah. Kindra, what attributes are you looking for in a man based upon your father? And what would you expect? And what would you expect of a husband? And what would you expect of your husband as a father based upon your relationship and what you've seen with your father?
Well, rule number one, hype me up. I think that's important.
Hype you up.
Hype me up. Celebrate me. I see you celebrate mom, calling her your wife, your girlfriend, your side chick, all that. But I think from me seeing that, that's something that's important to me. Like, there's been a dude, I'm talking to him like, he don't hype me up enough. I'm not really that attracted because he's not hyping me up enough, So I think that's important. Obviously, being a godly man, being a godly leader. And I'm a little bit more sporadic, but you're such a planner. And, wow, I'm grown up. Because a man that's a planner is attractive to me now. Once upon a time, not so much. But yeah, a man that's a planner, that can do what he has to do, even if it may not be exactly what he wants to do, and just operating in discipline. Not for me, but in his own life already. I see all this, and think that you've been a man of discipline, and in all areas of your life. Because if there's a man who has no type of willpower and can't say no to anything, you think that's gonna change just because y'all are together now? That's gonna continue to operate, he's gonna continue to be that way. So a man that has discipline and willpower, a man of God.
Okay. Anything else y'all want to add?
I will say this. I sense a lot of hurt, a lot of yearning, a lot of, inner whatever's going on. And I just believe that I wrote this down during praise and worship earlier. And because it's this inside thing that we want everybody in our family to be perfect. And as dads, I believe mistakes, I know it sounds crazy, but I really believe mistakes balance the family out and allow God to be always in control. And I wrote this down. I said, I wrote Father's Day, I wrote, God will not allow us to be absolutely in control, but he will give us grace to trust that he is absolutely in control. So for any fathers right now in here, or any sons or daughters, whatever, that the repairer of the breach is the Lord.
Right. That's good, Chip.
He will use repentance. He will use your maturity, or he might never use the different people, but just trust in God and trust that God's in absolute control. Because even though we're talking, as you heard Bishop be transparent, like he's still growing. We're all still growing, and we never arrive.
I was going to, you mentioned that earlier, because some of you hear me say, because it was very impactful for me. They're no longer at the church, but I said to him one time, I said, why didn't you talk to me about that? And he was a member of the church. He said, well, the way I look at it, you a man, I'm a man. You put your pants on one leg at a time. I put my pants on one leg at a time. I said, okay, as far as I was concerned, the meeting was over. What he was saying is, I'm a man, and I don't need your input. I don't need you to impart in my life. And I think everybody, you should never get to the place that, especially somebody who's older than you or more mature than you, in this case, the things natural, spiritual, can impart into your life. And I really, and the way y'all really have to understand how I operate. My children can still tell you the same thing. So for those of you who looking for this spiritual father relationship of me chasing you and running you down, do I do that? No. I'm here if you need me. And my wife and I, we're totally different. She'll ask me something. Did you ask him about such and such? Are all his bills paid? I'm like, here, grown man. I ain't asking if his bill paid. Your brothers, y'all understand what I'm saying? Well, did you ask him if he need any money? No, I ain't going to ask you if you need any money. But if you do need some money, talk to me. As grown people, I will let you navigate. But I want you to know that I'm here for you. That's how I deal with my natural children. I deal the same way with my spiritual children, whether that's another pastor, okay, or whether that's some of you in the church here. I mean, y'all saw those young men there, and who I really thought about. Those are some of my real spiritual sons, okay. I don't mean any harm from some of my pastor sons who may be watching. These pastor sons, they come and they go. They're here today, they're gone tomorrow. They ask me something, as soon as I say something they don't like, they out. All that kind of stuff. Some of those people you saw the longevity, you see longevity of relationship. Okay? You see people who I have corrected. Okay? Those people you saw people who I have sat down, who I have corrected, who I've gotten in their face, and who have navigated through that. But those are the things also that a father does. And if you have never been used to a father doing that, I heard Bishop Jake say this way: if you're not used to a father, you will take correction as rejection. Yeah. You'll take correction as rejection. And I think all of us need to stay in that posture with somebody that can still correct us. For some reason, you want to say something? Okay. One of that video about Father's Day, that was showing some extreme cases, supposedly showing Extreme. One of those was not an Extreme case in Chandler. Well, it was Extreme, but that was Chandler's life. I bought Chandler a new car after he had done some horrible things. This was like my grace gift. I bought him a new car, or it was new to him anyway. But I mean, I remember it was black Grand Prix, had nice rims on. You remember that car? I bought him that car. I said, listen, I said, I'm buying you this car. You got to keep curfew. No more tickets. What happened that night? The day he got the car. Got a ticket doing 100 on
90
huh?
90
He's saying 90 something. The ticket showed 100. The day, and he came in like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, broke his curfew. It was like 17, 18. I can't remember. And I took the car back. Pastor Marcia said, don't take the car back. Put it in the garage somewhere. Hide it somewhere. Keep it for about a month. I said, oh, no. I told him if he did this again, and I took the car. For years, he was mad with me about that. I thought when someone provoked him to anger or wrath, I thought he was going to bring that up. But what did that lesson teach you? You're a good father.
ChandlersWounds.org. Subscribe today, ChandlersWounds.org.
Chandler's what?
Chandler's wounds.
I'm feeling like I'm sitting at this table like, Lord, I'm thinking I'm healed, I'm whole, I'm complete.
Trigger.
He just keep bringing stuff up. I'm like, we supposed to be moving forward. But there might be some pearls and gems in that story.
There's some pearls and gems in that.
First of all, I was speeding because I was trying to get my behind home.
Okay. Several hours later.
And
You still tried.
yeah, I was super trying. And the cop that got pulled me over had me outside the car questioning me and all this stuff like that. But the question is, what did I learn in that process?
Yeah.
Now I can look back
Okay.
with wisdom and see what I could potentially have learned. And at the time, emotionally, I wasn't intellectually
You just thought I was
connected.
a-
I'm
you
just
thought
like,
I
you're
was a
taking away a gift. Because it was a graduation gift, right?
No, it wasn't.
Birthday gift?
I can't. It was some kind of
It was
gift.
something. Yeah, 18, birthday gift, I believe. But I learned, consequences, life and consequences. And and that some things you can't recover when you make certain mistakes.
And I think one thing that you said is good, that you do have wounds that you have to heal from, and that you can have daddy issues even with a daddy. You can have a father and still have daddy issues. And I know that we are so blessed to have you as a father and have a godly man with guidance, but it doesn't mean that you live a life without pain. And so I don't want people to think that there is someone who does have a father that there's nothing that can replace a father. So it is an absence, but that doesn't mean that everything was butterflies and rainbows all the time, and that we didn't have to go through anything, and that we still didn't experience pain and hurt that no father can save you from.
Exactly.
You still have life issues that, whether you're born with a silver spoon or not, there's still ways that life will get you.
I'm so glad you said that because not everyone has the grace to communicate with their dad about stuff.
Right.
Like we're able to go back and retract and see what we learned, and healing can show up in different things like that, and we can laugh and we can joke. But there's people in here who's like, I moved away from the West
And we
Coast.
had to
I
be
moved
intentional
away
about healing too.
We had to be intentional, regarding healing, because I realized I believe a lot of people do struggle with daddy issues, and you're not able to talk about it. Instead, you maneuver around it. So yeah.
And I'm grateful that there's one time, not even that long ago, where you said, ask how you could be a better father. And I think that it's good to continue to try and, as a father, develop, look, okay, as my child is in a new stage of life, how can I be there for them now and continue to, navigate that relationship?
One of the things that Pastor Marcia and I we really realized is that so many of you're in the throes of raising children, your minor children, teenage children, and if you were raised like some of us were raised, we heard the other day, I was in y'all know my Aunt Dottie passed away, and I was with my family on that side. One of my, I guess she's my niece's daughter. She's a great niece, okay? Yeah, she's a great niece, and she has a child. And I said, how old are your kids? She has a couple of children. She said, they're almost out. I said, almost out? She said, one going to be gone in 6 years, one going to be gone in 8 years. And I said, how you, but this, I didn't deal with that. I ain't here to deal with that. But I'm like, how are you raising children just thinking about them getting out? They're leaving. One going to be gone in 6 years, one going to be gone in 8 years. And so what she was saying is that one is like 10 and one is 8. Okay? And her thinking is, her mentality, they're going to be gone. And some of us, we were raised with that mentality. When you're 18, you're getting out of here, or raised, when I'm 18, I'm getting out of here. And some kind of way thinking that your parenting is over at 18. Can I tell you, once you survive the crazy years, okay, where you're trying to make them make decisions, now you still have to be there to help them got to have the relationship that now you can guide them through this place of adulthood and autonomy to make decisions. And so kind of fathering, parenting in general, but fathering, it never ends. It never ends. You're always going to need to be there to give the guidance, the wisdom of those 20 more years experience that you have over them. Those 15, 20, 30, whatever years that you have beyond them, to give them that. So hopefully they can do things better than you did, and they can avoid even pitfalls that you may have made. Again, would you thank me for my 2 children who are with us here today? Chandler Bailey, Kindra Bailey, thank you all so much. Appreciate you.